Greetings and welcome to Raven's Roost Forge. I'm your host Tate, and this is a video series about how to get started blacksmithing. The first video in this series is going to be about the tools that you're going to need to get going. Since blacksmithing is such an inherently dangerous hobby, we're going to want to think about safety first. Make sure you have a respirator, N95 or better, to protect your lungs, good gloves to protect your hands, hearing protection, and eye protection as well. You're going to need something to measure with. Measuring tape and a framer square are a good start. Don't use a plastic framer square because it's hot in the blacksmith shop. Every blacksmith needs a hammer, and the best to get started is a crossbeam. This is a 3-pound from Harbor Freight. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to dress it so that it'll be ready to strike hot steel. And we'll need an anvil to strike upon, of course. There are some commercial available options that are not too bad nowadays. But a classic beginner's anvil is a piece of railroad track if you could get it. Okay, it's not a bad way to start. But something that might be easier to get a hold of is just a piece of flat, thick steel. I would recommend a minimum of 1 inch thick, but the thicker the better within reason. You can, of course, also use a sledgehammer as an anvil. And in an upcoming video, I'm going to show you how to take a sledgehammer and turn it into a stake anvil. We're also going to want some sort of an electric drill. I prefer a corded one with an auxiliary handle because of the extra torque, and the extra handle helps you control it. A cordless option is also fine. They usually will have a clutch that will limit the torque, so if the drill bit does get caught, you're not going to end up injuring yourself. So we're also going to need bits for the drill. You want some sort of bit that is ground for cutting metal. These usually have a split point and a 135-degree angle in order to make sure that they bite into the steel easily. An upcoming project in this series is going to require a couple of specialty bits as well. In particular, a paddle bit and a hole saw of the listed sizes here. We're also going to need something to cut our steel stock with. A hacksaw with a bimetal blade and 18 teeth per inch is a good place to get started. Doesn't need to be expensive. An inexpensive set of chisels and punches is also going to be necessary. This is another Harbor Freight find. This particular set has several different sizes of tapered punch, several different sizes of cold chisel, and several different sizes of pin punches, as well as a center punch. We're not going to need the pin punches for any of the projects that are lined up, but all of the others will be very useful. One of the most frequently necessary tools in the arsenal is going to be a 4.5-inch angle grinder. You could go corded or cordless on this. Just don't get the cheapest one that you can find because the vibration is usually really bad on those, and that can be really hard on your hands. If you decide to go cordless, make sure you get a big battery pack because these use up a lot of electricity. We're also going to need a variety of abrasives for the 4.5-inch grinder. At least one of these hard grinding discs, a couple of different grits in flap disc. You'll want something a little finer and something a little more coarse, like maybe a 36 grit and a 80 or 120 grit. And then several of the metal cutoff discs as well. Now, oftentimes you can get these in kind of a variety pack through some place like Harbor Freight, and so that's an excellent deal to purchase them like that. There's other types of abrasives that can be used in place of grinding discs and flap discs. These fiber resin discs can be used in place of both a grinding disc and a flap disc depending on the grit that you're using. And then paint stripper discs also are really useful for getting a good surface finish and getting rid of rust, but you don't need these. A coarse half-round file is also going to be really important. Make sure you get something that's a little better quality. I would also recommend picking up a chainsaw file in 3/16 inch. We're also going to need a vise for work holding. Something bigger would be excellent, but even a small vise like this will do the job. This is another Harbor Freight purchase. We're also going to need one or more pairs of pliers. Nothing fancy needed here, but if you can get a hold of some of these parallel jaw pliers, those are your best bet. They're hard to find though. Anything adjustable will do though. We're going to need a stiff steel brush for removing scale from the hot steel. Stay away from plastic if you don't want it to melt. Pick up quality sandpaper in coarse, medium, and fine grit. You don't want to go too cheap here because cheap sandpaper can be a nightmare to work with. We're also going to need raw materials. I recommend 1/2 inch or 12 millimeter thickness as a great one for a beginner to start with. You could use rebar. It's cheap and easily available just about everywhere in the world. Lastly, we need a work surface and a forge to heat up the steel, which I'll show you how to build in an upcoming video. Hopefully you found this information helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.